Our next segment is sponsored by Halcone Realty. Looking for a real estate team that combines local expertise with Southern hospitality? Look no further than Hal and Kris Cohn at Cohn Realty Group in Roanoke. They have years of experience and a deep understanding of the Roanoke market and will work with you every step of the way to buy, sell, or invest in the Roanoke Valley. Visit CohnRealtyGroup.com or call Hal and Kris today and experience the difference of expertise with Southern hospitality. All right, we are back and so happy to welcome real estate agents Hal and Kris Cohn of Cohn Realty Group. Now, you might already know them if you were looking to buy or sell in the Roanoke market, but they're also the Best of Platinum 2021 and Best of Gold 2022 winners for individual agent in the Roanoke Magazine Best of Reader Awards. They also have the #1 Roanoke YouTube channel at Roanoke, Virginia Living. Hi, Hal. Hi, Kris. Thank you so much for coming on today for our second segment.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
We are so excited about print to podcast. I think that this is going to be a tremendous podcast. It's going to really bring life to your magazine. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here, and we're so excited to talk. So just so that listeners know, their videos on YouTube, Instagram, and your other social media pages, they showcase even more of the region that you know and love. And I actually love watching your videos on a frequent basis, especially I believe one of the most recent ones was where one of your clients actually made you a sticky toffee pudding.
Oh. Yes,
I'm
they
so
did.
jealous.
Yeah. Well, big shout out to Barry for pulling that together. And I got 2 within like 2 months.
Oh, man. Well, you might get more after this podcast.
I know, right?
But you can send those to Leisure Media on Brambleton. Anyway, so not only do you guys help people get a better understanding of the area to fit their lifestyle, I think that's really important, but you're looking at certain costs and market values and things like that, which we're going to get into in just a second. It's such a fun way to discover fun things that you didn't know about Roanoke through your help. And of course, getting to know this powerful real estate couple doing great things for the Valley is something I can't wait to talk about. So first up, let's talk about what makes Roanoke such a special place to live and why you believe it's a desirable location.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Everybody comes here for a different reason, whether it's a job transfer or perhaps they want to retire here or raise kids. In our case, we moved back 11 years ago so we could raise our family here by my family. I grew up in the Wasena area. But there seems to be a trend of people that we help from across the nation and now across the world that they're flocking to this area because of there's some themes that are coming out. We've got the cost of living, outdoor activities for sure. And then also there's the 4 seasons. You'd be surprised how many people want those 4 seasons. They're either tired of the extreme heat or they're buried in snow.
That's true, because as much as I feel like I love summer and then I'm, in the middle of summer, I'm like, I'm ready for winter. And then you get to winter and you're like, I just want a little bit of summer. Oh my gosh.
I think we just said that yesterday morning, actually. We were like, okay, we have a little bit of heat right now.
We did. Another thing that people come to and are really excited about is the hospitality. We truly have Southern hospitality right here. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I think we've had multiple clients that have come and visited from other states. They come to Roanoke, checking it out. And through the process, they're like, the people here are so nice and friendly. It's like we went to the restaurant and they're like, thank you, sugar or honey or whatever. And then they're like, people don't... they don't actually honk their horn at you whenever they're trying to get in front of you. It's like they actually are nice drivers too. We're like, yeah, we kind of feel that.
I think that's cool because and you'll read about this in the Jan-Feb issue right now with 40 Under 40, the majority of those responses about why the young professionals love living here was community. And so I feel that that's definitely a value of hospitality, especially here in the South. But, down here in Roanoke, it's particularly special. And so as far as like attracting potential buyers from out of state, you mentioned something earlier before we started the podcast about a Goldilocks state. And I'm kind of curious about what this is.
Yeah, it was just this interesting theme that kind of came up through our conversations with clients that we kept hearing over and over again. It's not too big. It's not too small. And it's not just population. It's not just being a mid-sized community that makes it that just right state. It's everything. We have arts and culture, a tremendous music scene. We also have diversity that you just don't find in some of the smaller areas. And then everything from traffic to weather. Anything I'm missing?
Well, no, I mean, I feel like also like as we were, creating our actual YouTube channel to be ambassadors for the Roanoke Valley, right? It's so easy to talk about the greatness and the goodness here. And we have other folks that we've followed throughout the country that have done kind of the same thing with their YouTube channels. And they're like, you got to tell the negative. You got to tell the negative. And for us, it's like, there is some negative, but it's like very small in comparison to a lot of other places.
Sure.
So for us, it's like, we're always positive and we're telling about the good things. And it's like, that's kind of like just what we see every day, right? So
Yeah. It truly is. This is a special place. So the Goldilocks thing is that it's just right for a lot of people.
I agree. So, and we've mentioned this before to listeners, I'm from down the road in Danville. This was the big city to me growing up. And then after graduation, I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for a while, which was great, but too big. It was just too big for Goldilocks over here on this side of the table. So it turns out Roanoke was exactly the right place I wanted to be. It's so perfect. I can't wait to steal that phrase from you and use it everywhere.
you are welcome to it. Yep. We have not trademarked it yet, but maybe we should think about that.
Perfect. So, talking about all the things that you do as far as, your careers, I was wondering if you could speak to the availability and variety of housing options here in Roanoke. We talk about historic homes and new construction. So I think that that's really interesting depending on what you really want to live in.
Right.
Yeah, and I think we're going to let Kris take this one because this is like one of her passions really as far as like design and that type of thing, because we do have and we're a lot different than on other spots in the country as far as real estate goes, right? It's like we had people come in this past weekend and they were looking for new construction for the most part. And it's like, oh, you've got a lot of old houses. We're like, yeah, I mean, we're an older town. We've got older houses, that type of thing. So you've got some new construction, but not a ton, right? But that kind of feeds into what she's doing each and every week right now as far as bringing that to people's attention.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We have the luxury of variety. We do have our traditional homes that you're going to find in, say, the Grandin Village area. And then we have those gorgeous Queen Anne Victorians, larger historic homes in Old Southwest and in certain pockets. And then we have those little really distinct areas that you're going to find contemporaries and mid-century moderns that are going to get snatched up really quick.
Yeah, because you don't have a ton of them. So it's like people are like, oh, I see that. I'm going to pay extra high dollars for it, and I want it fast.
Sure.
Right. But people moving from perhaps more metropolitan areas are looking for those subdivisions that are more traditional. We don't have a lot of those, but we do have some. But what I like is, you have that luxury, like I said, of being able to kind of choose your style here. Now, availability, you can talk to in a minute. But each week, I just started a segment on my favorite house of the week. So you can tune in on Instagram to see that and follow that. But it is so fun to be able to see a house from a realtor's perspective, from an expert's opinion, and just go in and see the interior and exterior and what we're kind of looking for as we help guide our clients. But the architecture is so fun. I just finished doing a lake house in Smith Mountain Lake. It was gorgeous.
And it was so gorgeous. She's calling me and like, hey, we got to figure out a way to how to buy this house.
We're going to move here. Sorry.
I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I never thought you were going to want to live at the lake. But I mean, it's so beautiful.
With
I
views
can see
like
why.
that, you might be all right.
Yes.
Yeah. Lake views on 3 sides.
Three
Oh my
sides.
gosh.
This was a diamond in the rough.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
It's under contract.
But I know.
But not by us.
But nonetheless, so Lake House. And then, I did a Queen Anne in Salem, and then a mid-century modern in North Roanoke. So just the variety of architecture, really trying to enhance that and show people that there are a lot of choices that you can have here in Roanoke. That's been a lot of fun.
Do you feel, before we get into availability, do you feel that a lot of that is indicative of the neighborhoods? So I live in Wasena. You mentioned Wasena. Woo-hoo.
Yes.
That's right.
And so, our house was built in 31. So obviously it's a little bit older, but it also has this weird sort of, the layout gives it a more modern touch when we're able to design it that way. But it feels like that's sort of a good representation of the Wasena neighborhood.
Yes.
And so you're talking about Queen Anne homes. I mean, do you feel that those are pretty prevalent in that neighborhood, or is it a mix? Anybody can live anywhere and find the right house for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. Actually, I was just going through the history of Roanoke subdivisions with one of our clients who's really interested in history with Beth. And we were learning about how the lots were traditionally planned and the sidewalks and everything. So I think you do have some different styles sprinkled in, but for the most part, each neighborhood does have a style of its own where you're going to find kind of the same houses houses that are similar in style. I grew up in a 4-square in Wasena, so yeah, it's
You
interesting.
sure did. And then we were looking for a contemporary when we bought our house 5 years ago, and we ended up in a 1905 Victorian. So.
Well, so my husband's a history professor or a history teacher, so obviously he's looking for character in the old school style.
Right.
I'm looking for modern and clean, sort of minimalistic.
Yes.
And we found it in Wasena, and it matched both of our styles, and we're very lucky
That's
that
wonderful,
we had
yeah.
that available to us at the time.
That is lucky.
Yeah. And you see that a lot, I think, in the Wasena, Grand, and those areas where people are taking some of the ones that are not in the best of shape right now, and they're refurbishing those to keep some of the charm and character, but then also bringing it up to modern standards or expectations based on what everybody sees on HGTV nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I think, that's some great opportunities throughout the Roanoke Valley on that front.
Absolutely. Sounds like Kris is well on her way to getting her own HGTV channel with her favorite house of the week.
That would be fun. I think we have plenty supply here, but talking about availability, yeah, that's where you have to get flexible, and people really we're helping our clients navigate through that.
Yeah. So, people always, and I think this goes back to one of the things we talked about earlier as well, is the fact that, people will say they want X, Y, or Z. However, they show up to a house and within 15 seconds they're like, no, I can't really stand this one necessarily.
Sure.
So it's like sometimes, and I think to kind of pull that back in from a availability perspective right now, we are at tremendously low numbers of supply and tons of demand. So it's like, I was just doing a market update, and when I did that, I was looking at what's available right now, and there's like 600 and something houses available in like all 7 counties as far as residential. Just 3 years ago, there were like 2,000 active at the time. So I mean, our supply is so low right now that you have to be a little bit more creative and accepting of like, hey, I'm looking for this, but I may have to settle for this, and you're going to get like 80 to 85% of what you're looking for to be happy and content and just love your home.
Well, and you had mentioned, I think that's a great point that Kris made that ties into this. You have to see the potential of this house, particularly in terms of the client, what you know that their expectations or hopes are in a lot of cases. So you really get to see, okay, they may not see the magic in this, but we totally do. And I think that's sort of the magic of your job, right? Like, you're finding homes for people who really don't see it yet.
Yeah, and it's funny because like we were talking about about Shannon and Dixie, right?
Yeah.
Like whenever they were looking at houses, they came into the office and they said, "Hey, we want more of colonial, we want updated, we want this, we want that." And as we're showing them properties, they end up going into this ranch over a basement, and she's like, "This is the one. This is the house we're going to buy." And so before she even put that offer in, before they did that, I was like, okay. I was like, are you sure?
Because you wanted anything but a ranch.
Yes. Anything but a ranch. And I'm like, are you sure? I was like, this is a big investment. Are you sure? I asked them like 10 times. They said yes. And so we were able to win out in a competitive offer situation and get them the house. And then they actually sold it like 2 years later and made a good profit. So that was exciting. But her whole thing was, she's like, I felt like I was at my grandma's house when she walked in.
Oh, and that's feels like a home, of course. Oh my gosh. Ugh.
And that is fun to see the energy. And like you said, you could tell pretty quickly whether the clients like it or not. But when that one, just like your wedding dress, if you've had that experience, it truly is an expression that comes over their face, and they straighten their posture and they are ready. You can just tell that's the house.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So, we're talking about dates and trends is a big topic right now. I mean, as far as availability, you've mentioned something 2 years ago, things that you used to do, things that you used to have are not necessarily what you use or have now. And so we were talking, how do you stay up to date on the Roanoke market that's constantly changing? I mean, trends and changes. How do you keep track of all
Let's
of that?
just say the struggle's real. It's a matter of studying it each and every day. So for us, it's like we're in the multiple listing service, which, if a realtor puts a listing into the multiple listing service, it goes to Zillow, it goes to Realtor, it goes to all those places. So that's all stuff that the public can see. However, we can actually run statistics and numbers and see all the real data from like trends from year over year. So we actually dig into the multiple listing service like each and every day. I do a weekly market update, which comes out on Mondays on our Instagram channel and also goes to YouTube Shorts. So we do that as well to keep people updated. But then the one thing that's been really helpful for us over the last 2 years, especially because of all the craziness with COVID and shortages of supply with houses and that type of thing is, we're plugged into a daily mastermind on Clubhouse for an hour or 2 hours every day. We're listening to that and having conversations with realtors, 200 or 300 realtors every day throughout the country. So we can kind of get a feel for what's happening in other areas, because we're kind of insulated a lot of times in Roanoke. It's like things take a while to get here before they impact us. That helps us stay kind of ahead of the curve and the trend. And then every Monday, our group that we're a part of, the tribal agency group, where you're like, every Monday we're talking about things as well. And they're from all over the country as well. So I think what we do is we plug in through social. We plug in through, just our stats here in the Roanoke Valley, just being cognizant and wanting to make sure that we can help our clients navigate the process, right? Because people don't buy and sell a house every single day. That's something that we do every single day, and we want to be the best resource that we can possibly be so that they make an educated and informed decision, because it is so important and it's such a financial impact for them that, hey, we want to make sure that you've got all the data you need to make an informed and conscious decision.
That is such a good line. I mean, I bought my house 13 years ago. I would not remember the first thing to do besides call you guys tomorrow if I had to sell my house, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, I definitely need that. And so that's a good point, talking about technology in your business, because you mentioned social media being such a, maybe not critical, but critical factor in communication and getting information to your clients. I think it's interesting you share a weekly, basis of information to them so that they have that available. So just curious about how it's this technology, this new, the new approaches that you're taking. How does that impact the way that you do business here in Roanoke?
That's a great question. I think everybody across the country has had to pivot or, flounder, really. So pivoting with the new technology, just that COVID has brought alone, it's been wonderful. I mean, Zoom, making these connections that way alone has been fantastic. Putting face with a name, understanding people that way, our social media presence, and giving the consumer an opportunity to even meet us and get to know us and even find out about the Valley without spending too much money coming here first. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people have said, your videos have been so helpful for us to understand it, because otherwise, we'd go in blind. But our goal is to be their eyes and ears and boots on the ground, not only with housing, but what activities are going on and our many attractions. But yeah, so technology in that way, it helps the consumer, but it helps us too. I think it's been wonderful, and I think it's really brought on this higher level of acceptance across the whole field. Like, you have to be on board with technology to some degree. We still make a lot of traditional phone calls. We meet people face to face, because there's nothing that beats face to face interaction. Sure. But yeah, technology has certainly been an aid in our business. Yeah,
I was thinking about, as you were saying that, like phone call, text, email, social media, direct messages, comments on YouTube, you name it. We cover the gamut on that front, and we kind of have to. And we feel like we're at a good age and stage because of the fact that we're totally okay with the technology that needs to be a part of our day-to-day interactions with our clients. And we always ask them, like, what's the best way for us to get in touch with you? What's the communication style you prefer, right? Is it a phone call? Is it a text message? Is it a video text? Because we do a lot of video text as well.
Yeah.
But like she said, during COVID, it's like, I think people have come to the acceptance more of the fact that, hey, this is how we're going to do business, is like through Zoom and through technology, and it makes it makes it a little bit more convenient at times. And I love what she said as far as the fact that people can get to know us ahead of time. And so, they can check us out on, all of our social platforms to see if, we're actually somebody that resonate with, and they feel like we're actually going to take great care of them.
That's the thing. Like, you have to work with someone that you like. I mean, this is a relationship.
One of the most important choices you make.
Amen. Yes. Amen. And because it's an emotional process. So you've got to know right off if it's going to be a good fit or not. And that our YouTube channel or social media gives people that experience, and we're not going to resonate with everybody, and that's fine. There's so many realtors, great realtors out here, but every once in a while we get a few clients from that, and that's fantastic because we love to help them. Although I will say, hold your thought. But our kids are absolutely mortified that we're on TikTok now. We just got into TikTok. They're like, oh.
No, we're not doing the fancy dances or anything on TikTok.
Oh, no.
Not yet.
Not yet, at least.
It's only a matter of time.
That's right. I can't dance.
Well, so short of smoke signals, people can really reach you. I like that you're very approachable across whatever, and especially for whatever method works best for that person. I
Right.
think is incredibly important for somebody who, maybe they work all day and can't get to the phone call, but they can certainly answer the text message first chance they get. I think
Yeah,
that's awesome.
and we always tell folks too, it's like if you need us urgently, send us a text message and we'll get back to you faster because we
Right.
made an appointment, that type of thing. So yeah, we'll do what it takes to make sure you're well taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also made a good point. You're talking to people from out of town, and it feels to me like it would be so much easier to be able to schedule that Zoom and talk to them because now they don't have to travel to see, to meet you
Right.
guys or to see that house that you're standing outside of if you really needed to arrange that. I mean, that's really cool.
Well, and you just said something there about seeing a house. So we had multiple people last year, right, that bought a house here in the Roanoke Valley where we did video tours. We uploaded those. They got to check them out, and then we actually were able to get them under contract. They didn't see the house. Some people didn't see it until they closed. Others didn't see it until they showed up for their home inspection like 5 or 6 days later,
I believe
which is
it.
just baffling.
We got new neighbors who did something
Yeah.
similar. I was like, oh, hey, all right, you live here already. Great. Nice to see you. Hope you love it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So technology changed that, right? Because who would ever thought about that 2 or 3 years ago?
kidding.
Like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a house just through video tours. But it's just wild that has happened, and that's just kind of where we are now when it comes to real estate and in general.
Well, personally, as someone who watches a lot of HGTV, I just like looking through the video tours to
Yes.
pretend that I live there and like where my couch would go. So there's that too.
Definitely.
Yes.
I enjoy that very much.
So final question, we were talking about all the things to do in the Roanoke region. And so was curious about, any of your favorite cultural or community events or attractions that make it such a unique place to call home?
Oh, this is a loaded question.
There's so much to do. I
and
know.
I mean, y'all are the experts here, but what I love is what other city has 100-foot tall star
Right?
on top of a mountain in the middle of the city that you could actually bike and hike up to, or you could even take the Blue Way Trail into and then hike or bike.
Oh yeah, I didn't think
know.
about that. Right? Yes.
I mean, I love Roanoke. I was born and raised here. I couldn't wait to come back after Asheville and Atlanta. But I think Go Fest is certainly putting us on the map. And as long as we really work on our outdoor amenities and plan wisely and not exploit them, I think that's going to be a wonderful attraction for this area. Local colors.
Yeah, the Local Colors Festival, where you can see all things like different nationalities, ethnicities, etc. We were driving back through Williamson Road this morning after taking the kids to school, and in the process, I was like, "Oh, we've got an Afghan market now," which I was like, "Holy cow, I hadn't seen that." You got Asian food, you got you name it, you can get any type of food here that you could even think of when it comes to that, at least. But to learn about those other ethnicities and cultures, you got that festival. And then I was thinking about like our clients. We've had multiple that say, hey, I'm moving here to Roanoke because I am a mountain biker aficionado and enthusiast, right? So
Well, even our clients Ben and
Emily.
and Emily, and also
and then Genesis and David.
Sis and David. They moved here specifically for mountain biking.
Wow.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, from Boise. So they moved from Boise to here
Right.
in order to be in the mecca of the East Coast for mountain biking.
Right. And that's awesome. But even like Dickens, it just feels like our town almost provides this Hallmark quality and Hallmark movie quality.
Yeah.
When it snows or when we have a festival, which is all the time. I mean, you can't discount all the music and festivals. What I love too is, I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, me too.
But I do like that it's not just in one centralized location. We're not just talking about downtown. It's all over, dispersed from Smith Mountain Lake Wine Festival to out in Daleville, where they have their big festivals and farmers markets. So it's wonderful. I love it.
Oh, and we have sports. Don't forget about sports too, right?
Sure. Of course.
Well, thank you so much. That was such a wonderful wealth of information. I need to go look through all your videos and see where my couch is going and all that stuff. And then, maybe think about where to eat, because you guys are talking about restaurants on your pages too. And of course, that's, always a win. So you can't go wrong with any of that.
I'm the foodie per se. I like to eat.
Right.
So if there's good food to be found, I'm going to find it.
Perfect. So you guys send your recommendations to Hal, and of course, along with the sticky toffee puddings, you'll be making him after listening to this. So thank you again for being on here It is so cool to talk to you guys and learn about the great things that you're doing. You're bringing good people to our region, and that's so exciting. It's such a good, important part of building our community into what it is and make it even stronger. Thank you so much for being our guest on From Print to Podcast and for sharing all the amazing things that you're doing and for helping with our real estate questions and needs.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. We're blessed and grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be sure to follow Hal and Kris Cohn on their social media pages, including YouTube and Instagram and now TikTok at Cohn Realty Group, and learn more about their business and see homes listings and more at cohnrealtygroup.com. Thanks again to our segment sponsor, Hal Cohn Realty. Learn more about Hal and Kris Cohn, the local real estate market, and more at cohnrealtygroup.com.